This episode of Show Me the Meaning is brought to you by Mubi, a curated online cinema streaming exceptional films from around the globe. Also, this episode is brought to you by Mr. Koya. Head to MrKoya.com and enter the code SHOWME at checkout to receive 20% off your order, plus free shipping when you buy 2 or more shirts. Hey everyone, welcome to Show Me the Meaning, Wisecrack's movie podcast.
Show me the meaning!
Hell yeah. My name is Jared. I'm joined here with Greg.
Hey, I'm Greg Edwrads.
And Austin.
Hey, I'm Austin Hayden Smith.
Nice. All right, so today we're talking about the Baba Yaga himself. We're talking about John Wick, the 2014 movie directed by Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, who also, for both of you who are on the Deadpool 2 podcast, directed Deadpool 2.
Okay.
And
really?
starring Keanu Reeves. So first, I want to ask for first impressions, but I want you guys to tell me what's it like seeing it for the first time, what's it like revisiting it, and have you ever owned a dog?
Oh, man.
Let's start with Greg.
All right. I loved it the first time I saw it. I loved it every single time I saw it. I loved part 2 of it. I think it's great. And yes, I have owned a dog, and yeah, I can see.
Tell me about your dog.
Oh man, this is sad.
Okay, well, no,
no, it's not. I mean,
Make it happy.
I got this dog when I was like maybe 3 years old. My favorite cartoon was Casper the Friendly Ghost. I got like this all white dog. It's a Welsh Corgi, and I named her Casper. And Casper was with us until I was like 19, and then she
leave it at that.
Yeah.
I can't take the sides when it comes to dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Trooper.
All right, Austin, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, there was so much hype about this film before I saw it for the first time, and so I went in kind of still being a bit skeptical because I was like, really? Is it going to be that
Wait, so
good?
you hadn't seen it before this podcast?
Well, no, I'm sorry. The first time that I saw it.
Okay.
The first time that I saw it. Yeah, there was just so much hype about it, because I saw it maybe a few weeks after it came out or like a few months after it came out or whatever. And then I ended up seeing it and I was like, holy shit, man, it actually exceeded even my inflated expectations. I think it's a fantastic film. It's extremely enjoyable. I almost can't even explain why I love it so much. And then, of course, on repeated viewings, I think it's still holds up. It's great. I haven't seen the sequel, though.
Oh, man, you got to check it out.
It's good.
It's so good.
Can't wait for part 3.
And have you ever had a dog, Austin?
Yeah, similar to Greg, I had an amazing dog, and then, as with all love stories...
Hey, why do we have to jump to the bad part?
Because she had a heart attack while I was on Skype in England.
All right, you guys are making me really regret that I asked this question.
We're watching a movie about like a revenge fantasy about a dog that gets killed. We're going to have to go to some dark places, Jared.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so I saw this movie in theaters, probably opening night. I'm a big Keanu Reeves fan, and I was so happy to see him doing a new action franchise. One of the things I like about Keanu Reeves so much is that The Matrix really did form him as an individual.
Totally.
Like, he became interested in Eastern philosophy and keeping up with his martial arts. And, him and Tom Cruise are one of the few fucking warriors of action cinema. Actually, Jacob was just telling me that the Nerd Writer just released a video about this, talking about how Tom Cruise, John Wick, these guys basically make Marvel people look like a bunch of models who emote in front of a green screen on cue.
Marvel sucks. I said it. I hate those fucking movies.
No, those movies are good. But these guys are not hardcore like Keanu Reeves and Tom Cruise. No way.
Intense.
Yeah,
old dudes
intense.
too. These guys are old, man.
I know, yeah, and they're keeping up with it. I love in the second one just getting to see the Morpheus Neo reunion. Hell yeah! This is a movie I can just watch. Yeah. Like I can turn my brain off. I can enjoy it. It never gets old. In fact, the whole reason we're doing this is because I watched it last week with my girlfriend because she had never seen it. I enjoyed it so much. Then we watched the second one, and then we had to discuss what movie we're doing for this podcast. I was like, shit, let's just do John Wick. And then I rewatched it again yesterday.
God damn.
And it was still so good. Like, it didn't get old at all. Like, I was just as into it. And I think, to Austin's point, I was actually wondering to myself why this is so good. And I think there are some really interesting, impressive elements about this movie that I'm very excited to talk about. But before we get into that, let's do a quick recap. So, retired assassin John Wick is mourning the death of his wife when he receives her final gift to him, a puppy. An unexpected run-in with Yosef, the son of a notorious Russian mobster, leads to him invading John's house and killing the dog. But little does Yosef know, they fucked with the wrong guy.
Really wrong dude.
Wrong dude. The puppy's death compels John to leave the retired life behind and seek vengeance against Yosef and anyone that stands in his way. John sets the criminal underworld ablaze searching for Yosef and eventually kills him and his father. Having dismantled the mob, John stumbles into a kennel, adopts a pit bull, and walks off into the city night. End of movie.
That's like the shortest recap that you've ever given. That's
it is the shortest recap, but like, yeah, it doesn't, I could have mentioned Willem Dafoe's character, which is cool, but not really necessary. There's a dog that dies.
Right.
And ass is kicked.
A lot of murders.
Yeah, a lot of murders with a cold efficiency.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Just like a pistol as a close quarters combat weapon. That's like one of the coolest things about this movie. I've never seen that before, It
was beautiful.
It's amazing. All right, guys, before we get into the discussion, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors over at Mubi. So what is Mubi? Mubi is a curated online cinema. They focus on cult classics, festival fresh darlings, and so basically there are always 30 movies on the site, just like there will be 30 movies at a Cineplex when you go in, and you have 30 days to watch a movie, and after that, it's gone. It also has deeper dives with exclusive interviews, video essays, and critical reviews. Normally, you can get a free trial of Mubi for 7 days, but if you head to Mubi.com/Wisecrack, you can get an extended 30-day trial. So that's 30 movies that you can watch. So I want to talk about a movie that they just released on there called Last Year at Marienbad. Now, this movie is a French movie, I believe, from the 40s, and this is one of those movies. I actually saw Christopher Nolan speak live, and he talked about how this movie was a inspiration for him in creating Inception, which makes sense because it deals a lot with kind of dreams and reminiscing and kind of dreamlike reality. I will say about this film, it's a movie that every film lover has to see because it's very iconic. It's inspired many filmmakers, but it's also one of those movies that people joke about that's like, it's kind of like homework. You got to watch the movie, but it's challenging, it's slow, it's beautiful. It's not exactly the most action-packed 2 hours you'll watch, but you got to see it once because it's amazing. And I think Austin was also going to talk about a movie.
Yeah, one of the things that's really cool about Mubi is they sort of release films thematically a lot of times, whether it's based on a director or a genre, or they're doing one. So I'm international. I'm not in the United States. And so actually we just realized this, that my library is a little bit different. But in my library, they're doing this cool series on Cinerama, which is the sort of precursor to 3D, as well as a sort of horror set of films. So they've got like Bong Joon-ho's The Host, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Let the Right One In. So if you're fans of anything like that, good horror, like good quality horror films, whether they be classics or films that have kind of come in and shocked the system of a genre that's existed for a while, definitely check those three films out, or the other genre, the Cinerama genre, if you can even call it a genre.
Cinerama genre.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, the international audience has got some good films to choose from. So, yeah. So try Mubi for 30 days at Mubi.com/Wisecrack. That's Mubi.com/Wisecrack. All right, guys. So the first thing I want to talk about with this movie, and I think one of the most impressive elements of the movie, is world building. I think that this movie, it's really interesting how they build this very alive, very dense, very interesting world of the criminal underground without any explicit exposition. Not only does it largely leave out overt exposition, but there's kind of the way that they allow you to kind of fill in the gaps. Like, so much of the world building is just from people saying, like, it's been a long time, John.
Yeah, totally.
Or just like the part where John is like, hello, Francis, you've lost weight. And then he's like over 60 pounds, and he's like, impressive. And not only is this super efficient, just from that, or when the cop comes to John's house and he says, hey, John, and John Wick is like, evening, Jimmy, noise complaint? He's like, noise complaint, you working again? Just from their familiarity with each other, we know that this is an underground mob society that has some kind of understanding with the police. Nobody has to explicitly say it. Yep. Just from this very simple, very short interaction, we learn so much. And I think that's kind of the bread and butter for how this movie builds a world. And it's really impressive because nothing is worse than, you know, just a telethon, like
Totally.
them telling the audience, this is what the world is like, these are the rules, these are the relationships these characters have.
Yeah, I don't need another Batman origin story, do we?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I just loved it that you were talking about. He's the same director that made Deadpool, and in this movie they have the hotel. What's it called? Hotel.
It's the Continental.
Okay, the Continental, and the same thing with Deadpool. They have that bar where they just have all these killers and contracted killers.
Oh yeah,
it's the same thing.
I didn't think about that. That is interesting.
I'm glad they're doing a movie now, sort of like that, right? Hotel Artemis or something.
Oh,
that's coming out pretty soon.
I have seen I've seen sponsored content about it, but I've actually not seen the trailer. Yeah, I think that another thing that's really interesting about this is that I almost think, and actually having seen Solo, I think that there's an interesting kind of play it here where not only is it efficient for them to build a world like this, but I feel like we will always, like if I said like, Greg, it's been a long time, the audience will always, I feel like they'll project our relationship.
Totally.
You know, in a sense, like whatever is in their mind is going to be better than whatever the writer comes up with.
That's a good point.
You know, we never know the exact nature of these relationships. We don't know exactly what John Wick and the cop went through, what John Wick and the guy who collects the bodies went through, what any of these guys, we don't know, but he's always like meeting people and saying these things that, you know, as a writer, it seems like almost lazy and easy to just say like, oh, you know, it's been a long time. But when you couple that with good directing and like really good production design, we just project and like it doesn't even matter. And in fact, it's even better that we don't know the specifics because we fill that in.
Yeah,
you know?
I thought that part was perfect.
Yeah, and it's
Go ahead.
and it's not lazy writing; it's an intentional writing tactic,
It's,
right?
like
it's something that writers are taught to do is
Yes.
to leave those gaps, to allow for the audience to project, to play with mystery. So when Star Wars came out, the most recent one, or not the Solo one, but the Last Jedi.
Right.
When that one came out, I mean, my criticism primarily was, or one of them was that it was overly expositional, right? That it was telling you what people were feeling and what they were thinking and why they were thinking it and how they were thinking it and what they were going to do because they were thinking it. And I'm like, motherfucker, if I wanted to do that, I would read academic texts, which is what I do all day. But when I'm looking at art, when I'm experiencing art, I want mystery. I want excess. I want the sublime. Is what a lot of times people talk about, which is that sort of intangible beyond that is unrepresentable with words. And it's kind of silly to maybe think that we're talking about the sublime in a fucking movie that's just like this, I'm going to shoot you with a pistol from 2 feet away. But nevertheless, there is something about us filling in those mysterious gaps that is so much more profound and enjoyable.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think you're right. Writers are taught to do that, but it's a discipline. I think a writer always wants to, I want to build this world more. I want to inundate this more with my vision. I want to over-explain. And it's like you have to restrain yourself. Sometimes you have to restrain yourself to say less, and I think that this movie is a perfect example of that paying off in spades. But Austin, I want to hear a little bit more about the sublime, because I feel like maybe this was the term I was looking for, because I'm using the word nostalgia and how, like, the idea of the good old days will always be more effective than telling us anything explicit, but maybe nostalgia is the wrong word.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I guess my problem with nostalgia is that nostalgia seems restrictive because it's based on some sort of past image, right, that you're trying to reproduce, whereas the sublime is something that pulls forward, let's say, to use a sort of spatial metaphor. It's not the perfect spatial metaphor or even temporal metaphor, but it's something that is beyond, but it's in our midst. So Jean-Francois Lyotard calls it like the unpresentable. It is that which is unpresentable in language. It is that which doesn't fully exist in the ontological space that we inhabit at a given moment. It is the excessiveness, right? And I think when art is at its best, it's because it's a witness to the unpresentable. It's attesting to that beyond, rather than trying to encapsulate the beyond in language, which is a control mechanism, right? When you call something a tree, you've sort of killed the tree from being anything other than this set of linguistic structures that you've imposed upon it. Alexandra Kojève is a philosopher who talks about that. But the idea of art, when it's most impactful, I think, is when it doesn't just try to enclose things with words or with signs, but rather what it does is it sort of indicates, it points beyond, and then it allows the imagination to play in that space of excess.
So would you say, I know that you recently saw 2001 in 70 millimeter, would you say the ending of 2001 kind of plays in this space?
Oh my God, I don't think I've ever seen a film and had a cinematic experience that was as excessive as that. I mean, first of all, the screen was so big that I literally had to turn my head, because I was in like the third or fourth row because I wanted the immersive experience. I literally had to turn my head at points to like actually capture what was going on the screen. And then beyond that, the theater that I was in was like this old-fashioned community theater that does like live performances and shit like that. So it was, I don't know, some sort of cinematic scope of mystery that is unfolding before you that tries to encompass maybe like the totality of human, the midst cosmic chaos and infinity and expanse. And to me, I mean, that's precisely facing the sublime. What it can be, what it does is it's provocative. It provokes you to thought, and it causes you to engage.
So I feel like this movie is maybe somewhere in between the sublime and nostalgia.
Yeah, I mean, it's not 2001 or anything like
right.
that, but it's still, I think the reason that it's successful is because it participates in that excess rather than just simply trying to control everything through familiar symbols or whatever. And I know we get a lot of shit from people that feel like we're being too harsh on like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff like that. But maybe a way to draw like an analogy between this sort of like thing that I'm talking about with the sublime and the success of something like John Wick versus maybe the lack of success, in my opinion, at least, of some of these Marvel films, is that these Marvel films try too much to control through signs, like familiar signs, right? Like it's a familiar IP product. They want to give you these little Easter eggs so that you can like get that dopamine rush, so you can feel like, oh, I know that, I feel that. And all that's doing is it's covering over the sublime rather than opening us up to the potential of the sublime. And that's not to say that there aren't moments of sublimity in those films. Of course there are. But when you have a greater degree of kind of control within the medium of art, I think you really lose a lot of the potency of the beauty, of the excessiveness of the sublime that is really what an artistic expression ought to be about.
A lot of nerd culture is obsessed with lore.
Yeah.
Like, and
right.
I don't even know if I'm getting the definition for lore right, but people want to know the backstory. Like when I think of something like Game of Thrones, I haven't read the books. I'm semi-familiar with the show, but that's all about lore. People want to know the history, the details of the Lannisters, and I don't think that's a show that attempts to function at the level of the sublime. That's all about, you getting lost in a very detailed world.
Totally.
Explicitly detailed.
Well, that's what I love about John Wick is that, I mean, I don't think it's a very detailed world. I don't. I think it's
right.
I think it's very cut and dry. I think it's old school. I mean, just look at the name, John Wick. It's a dude's name. It's like it's set in Gotham. It's an old guy driving an old car. His wife died. He bought a dog. I mean, his wife left him a dog. The dog died. Well, they killed the dog, and he goes crazy and murders everybody. It's a movie that you can watch with your dad. You can watch with your granddad. He'll understand it. It's great, and the success of it is just that it's simple. It's a simple theme, and it's dark. It's kind of perfect. I wish, like Austin said, I wish other directors would pick up this theme of it and just make something, because I think everything's so convoluted and just so big right now that if you make something just a straight line that people can understand and get and just have some variations within it.
But see, I would say that what's impressive is that the movie, it's presented very simply, but once again, like if I were to try to explain to you what the world of John Wick is and the rules of this Russian mafia, like it would take time, because there seems to be a lot of nuance there.
He's a great actor, though. That's how good,
for sure.
But yeah, totally. I mean, watching John Wick and being a big fan of Game of Thrones, I was like, yeah, cut his balls off. He deserves it.
Yeah.
What he did to that dog,
Yeah. And that's another thing, and not to give all the credit to the writers here, but same thing with all the actors. The guy who plays Theon's dad, the main mob guy, is great.
Yep.
And then Theon, whatever his real name is,
I forget too.
is amazing. He's so hateable. He's such a scumbag. He's like
He's such a wormy little fucker.
He's such a wormy little, like
he's got a
nepotist
punchable
shitbag.
face.
The little goatee too, you know.
He and when
it's unfortunate. There are certain humans that like you just look at them and you're like, oh yeah, I want to punch that person just by looking at them. And he's totally one of those dudes, man.
And even when he's running from John Wick at the bathhouse, he's got like a girl that he's using as like a human shield. Like everything about him just sucks.
Worst.
He's the fucking worst.
Yeah.
But I do like the contrast of like everybody, like the policeman, everybody treating John Wick so nice.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's like, oh, John, it's good to, everybody's like kind of scared of him, but they kind of like him too. And then how the mobsters are, Theon's character and his crew treat him like shit. But then the guys higher than him are like, oh, don't fuck with that guy. So it just plays more into like, you fucked with the wrong dude.
Fucked with the wrong dude.
And how badass this guy is without saying how badass he is.
More to the idea, like I another thing I really love about this world, which I think is something, it's a classic disparity between the brutality of mob life, and the civility and the classiness of the way that business is done, especially at the Continental. Like they all dress so slick. They're
smooth.
Slick. They have a strict adherence to these rules, and once again, the rules are never explicitly explained.
Yeah.
We just know that, Keanu Reeves says something like, give up your son. And now we understand that there's probably some idea of trade that goes on with these things. Or in the second one, they do a lot of this too, where there's like the book that you have to like put your thumbprint on after like a debt has been paid and stuff like that. And then in the Continental, you can't do business on grounds.
Yeah.
They
have their own
awesome.
currency too, right?
They have their own currency. And once again, it's never explained exactly what it's worth. And I love the thing, it's like John will say like table or reservation for 12. And it's never explained that, reservation for 12 means that I have 12 bodies that I need to get rid of. But we see it happen, and it's so, it's quick and engaging and just very graceful.
Well, one of the things I think, and Greg was just saying something that reminded me of this a minute ago. It really reminds me of like ancient Greek mythology, in that the stories are very simple, but they're also like really batshit crazy and petty, right? Like you get these gods that, like, I don't know, like they get offended because of the most minor thing, and then they're like, well, fuck this, I'm going to start a war because of it. That's what the Trojan War was, right? And it's like, and it's usually about like a chick, like one of the gods is like upset because his chick isn't doing what he wants, or his chick wants to bang somebody else or something like that, right?
True.
So he's like, fuck this, I'm gonna start war on Earth because of this, And so it's like this weird, simple mythology at the surface level. There's like these simple archetypes and these simple figureheads. You got like the bad guy mobster and the douchebag son and the boogeyman, or the guy that kills the boogeyman killer guy. And you've got all these mysterious things about them. But then the more you kind of engage with it at that mysterious level, the more complex it gets, and the more you're kind of like, oh, this is a fucking cool mythological world. And I think maybe that's why it's like a weird myth, but it's not a morality tale. Like, it's not spoon feeding some sort of bullshit morality like, God, I'm such an asshole, but like The Last Jedi, which is like, here's this morality tale that I'm trying to spoon feed to you. This is much more like, no, there is no morality, right? This is just simply a story, a myth, and a world, and it's about play and excess and have fun.
Well, I don't know. I feel like there is morality in this, because he is very conflicted. He knew what he was doing was not a good thing. That's why he got out of the biz, to try to be a loving husband. And then, like, shit happens. His wife dies. Then they kill his dog, and then you see him actually going back to the depths of hell when he grabs his guns again. He has to, like, fucking bulldoze himself to get his he fucking cemented his guns over.
Right.
That's how bad
it's the life he buried.
Yeah,
now he has
life.
he has to unearth it. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing was fucked up, but they just took him there, and he tried. He tried so hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's a
struggle.
good point. Maybe the morality is
the morality is don't fuck with a man's dog.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with a man's dog. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. I want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Mr. Koya. So, The weather's warming up, and we're excited to introduce a new friend. His name is Mr. Koya, and he really, really likes short-sleeve button-down collars, as you can see I'm wearing right now. This
Looks
is
good on
called
you.
Midnight Collar. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate it. You being much more of a fashionista than me, it makes nice. It also feels good, you know? It's a very nice material. So the best thing about them, other than how awesome their shirts are, is that they have a customer service robot hidden in their FAQ named Mr. Koya. You'll trip out because he's like super helpful, and he's not annoying like the little fucking what's that? You know, like a Microsoft Word the old days they had the the paper clip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hated the paper clip.
Mr. Koya is way cooler than the paper clip. You can see how everything is crafted in their factory. There's no sweatshops. Global shipping, no matter where you are. Sizing charts available. No issues around size exchange if you get it. If you can return it if you want. All is good. It's like dealing with a real friendly gentleman. At the end of the day, it's a stylish short-sleeve button-down shirt. You won't find these designs anywhere else. It's fun. It's charming. Visit www.mrkoya, that's Koya.com, and if you enter the code SHOWME, you'll receive 20% off your order plus free shipping when you buy 2 or more shirts. So thank you again to Mr. Koya, and thank you for making me look so fresh.
And so clean.
So clean. All right, so I want to talk about, we were talking about, you know, don't mess with a man's dog, and I kind of feel like this movie fits into some weird, like, revenge, like, you know how in the 80s, or in 1980, they had I Spit on Your Grave, kind of the what became the prototypical rape revenge movie, you know, and in a rape revenge movie, so there's like I Spit on Your Grave, Irreversible, Death Wish, and to an extent Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. And usually in the first act, a woman is like brutalized or raped, and the rest of the movie is exacting revenge. This movie it's almost like like Austin said earlier, it's a revenge fantasy for dog owners.
Yeah.
And
well, there's a new movie that's out in theaters right now that's getting mad love called Revenge, right? That's a sort of
I haven't heard of it.
It's supposed to be like a feminist retelling of the rape revenge fantasy story, like I Spit on Your Grave, except it's written and directed by a woman. So I think it's called Revenge, but it's out in theaters right now. So.
And then with what Tarantino has done with some of his previous movies, Inglourious Bastards, I've heard people call it Jewish revenge fantasy.
Totally.
And then with Django, like slave revenge fantasy. Mm-hmm. And you know, it might seem like there's a sense, I don't know, like you would think that there might be a sense of incongruity between a puppy and the insane vengeance that he wreaks, killing like literally hundreds of people. But to me, who's someone who's obsessed with dogs, and I think that, you know, in our society in general, people are very connected to their dogs. We see a lot more dog parents these days than dog owners.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you think that there's a sense when people like I'm a dog parent, but I'm definitely self-aware about it. I think most dog parents are. They're aware of how weird it is. No?
I mean, I don't think it's weird. I just think you know, it's a dog. You know, people that have dogs live longer. I mean, that's been a study.
But when you're like feeding your dog like rotisserie chicken, like, you know, it's ridiculous. I don't do that, but some people do.
Hey, dog gotta eat. You know, it's like
no, I know.
I don't think it's that weird. You know, people give people shit for loving their dogs, but hey, you know, some of it is when I see dogs in like a baby carriage, like, you know, that's a little much. Let the dog walk on his paws. But
what about the dogs in the purse? Because we know how common that shit is in LA, like the little chihuahuas.
I mean, look, man, if the dog is so small it can fit in the purse, keep the dog in the purse. I don't want a hawk coming down, grabbing that dog and flying off in the tree somewhere. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And lady, you know,
girls, the dog's own well-being.
Girls like that shit. You know, they're cute. You know.
You know what, dude? I don't know if anyone out there is on Tinder and shit like that, but I will say this: as someone who has dabbled in the Tinder game a bit over the years, the frequency with which you will see a girl's bio that says like, I'm only on here looking for a dog owner, or if you have a dog, I'm yours, or I just want to go on a dog play date. There is something pretty amazing about how much like dogs create community, whether it's like a romantic or intimate thing or otherwise. Like, Jared, you've got a new friend from NPR because it's a dog poop partnership, right?
Right. Yeah, I was every morning for the last year. I've had just chit chat with this woman who walks her dogs, and our dogs do their morning poop together. And I just found out that she like hosts a very famous NPR podcast. So I'm just like, wow. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, dogs like there's something about the fact that there is not a sense of incongruity about the revenge that he wreaks. Dogs, like, I mean, they make me speak in like tongues, basically. You know, like when you, Austin, as a recovered evangelical, you understand that like something that can move you to speak in tongues or move you to say nonsensical things. It is kind of like a religious experience. And when I look at my dog's face, man, it moves me to say ridiculous things. You know what I'm talking about? Puppy talk.
Of course.
Can you give us an example of your puppy talk?
Yeah, I'll just like, oh, you get your baby face muffin man, you know, stuff like that.
Baby face muffin man.
Oh, he's got all sorts of names.
That's a good looking dog. Oh, he's spiteful though. I just saw Woody jump at another dog real fast.
But you know he stole his toy, man.
And just like the parrot, you take it up for him.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the love.
No, the other kid's an asshole. The other kid.
No,
asshole.
Larry is a good man. He's a good dog.
And that's why this movie's so good, because it's compounded. I mean, like, you know, his wife that died gave him this dog.
Yeah.
You know, that's the last gift she gave him, and she's gone. And then you take, you take the dog.
I was going to say, do you think it would be ridiculous if there wasn't that transference, though? Like, if it was just this dog that had no direct connection to his wife that had just passed, would that make this film more ludicrous? Or do you think that, like, because there seems to be, like, that compounded thing that you just said, Greg, makes it even more intense. But would it just be insane if it was just a dog revenge film?
I think so. I think it would. I mean, I could still understand it, but I think it would be like, all right, you killing 100 people. But I mean, I can still understand it though, because a dog is like family. But you know,
I feel like if you ask most people what is John Wick about, they probably don't even think about the wife element.
Yeah.
They just say a guy,
true.
a dog, or someone kills the man's dog, he goes apeshit.
Yeah.
You know. Also, like John Wick has become like a meme. I saw this video on Facebook earlier, and it was like ways to kill Thanos from the Avengers. And one of them, it was like a top 5 ways that you could have killed Thanos. And one of them was, the funniest one was Thanos does the snap, and half the people dies, and it just cuts to John Wick holding his dog, and the dog disappears, and then it just ends. And we just assume that if you fuck with this man's dog, it's over for you, no matter if you're Thanos or whoever the fuck you are.
So what triggers him in the second film? Is his new dog?
So in the second film, more to this point of amazing world building, this guy just shows up at his house and he takes out this medallion and he opens up the medallion, and on the medallion it's cut in half. On one side of the medallion there is a thumbprint that's been put there in blood, and basically the guy says, "I've come to collect your promise." So basically, like, through similar methods that I've been talking about, how they use vagaries to still kind of create this very dense and interesting mythology, basically the guy says, he shows them what I believe is called a marker, and he says, you know, this is a blood oath, and you have to get back into the game for me because I'm coming to collect the favor that you ask of me. It's kind of like it's like The Godfather. It's like, one day I will come and... I don't know, the accent just got real weird there.
Is that Russian?
Well, it's because I'm thinking about John Wick and The Godfather. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting the way that they pull him back in. But, no, I mean, the last shot of the second one is a similar shot to the end of the first one, is him running into the night with a dog by his side.
Okay.
I just like these things.
I got to see it.
You got to see it. It's so good.
Keanu, have you guys seen, what's the other movie that Keanu plays where he's like an angel? Well, I mean, he's not. He's fighting demons.
I heard
Constantine.
Well, it's just
that one. That one's good.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
My dad,
where he has to go to hell and shit.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
My dad, who's a preacher, loves that movie. But it's almost like he plays these same, I don't want to say same type of character, but it's the same theme of character. They dress alike. They're all like in suits or like in dark clothing. They're all dark personalities. And they have to fight for a cause that they don't really want to or have to get talked into fighting for again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I dig it.
It's almost, there's like a simplicity to Keanu that oftentimes gets made fun of, but I think that actually works with exactly those types of characters that you're talking about. Because, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but there's like, it's almost like he's an empty vessel that you can just fill with all of these various things. So like the suit and the dark worlds are like the vessel, and then like the motivation, it can kind of just adapt anywhere because he's not too loaded with baggage, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about this. My next talking point was about this idea of kind of cult of personality. And I think there are certain movies that are certain actors that almost exist in like a subgenre of their own that really operate more on a cult of personality level rather than actual and like acting prowess. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger. A Schwarzenegger movie is its own subgenre.
Totally.
Schwarzenegger has a certain list of qualities that makes him Schwarzenegger. When we say that Schwarzenegger is a good or bad actor, I mean, I would say that, I mean, I don't know. It depends on what you consider an actor or a good actor. But Schwarzenegger... Jason Statham is another one. Like, they play mostly the same character, but, I mean, it works.
They crush that character.
They crush it,
Arnold's good. Arnold's good. I mean, Terminator? Terminator Part 1 in the 80s scared the shit out of you, man. That movie's great. Still
seriously,
holds up.
Twins?
Twins was awesome too.
Come on, man.
No, man. I mean, Schwarzenegger has had an amazing run in the 90s
Conan?
and even the early 2000s. See, those are the early shit that you're talking
Conan
about.
the Barbarian?
Last Action Hero.
Last Action, True
Lies
Lies
was great.
True Lies.
True Lies.
I really like, what was the Hell movie he was in? Where he like fights demons and shit. I think that one's underrated. I think The Sixth Man is underrated. Critics hated that one.
Mr. Freeze.
Oh well, that's when you take Arnold out of his element and everything. But so this idea of cult of personality, I also want to tie this into. Do you guys, when you guys watched this movie for the first time, did you laugh?
A little bit.
You mean at like how ludicrous it was?
Well, I guess I wanted to leave that open. Like, well, so you said a little bit,
I laughed
Greg,
at Theon. I laughed at the character that played Theon, especially when he was at that bar and he was running from him, and the girl, he was putting the girl. I just laughed at how much of a pussycat he was and how they played it up and how they fucked with him at the gas station, how they fucked with Keanu at the gas station in the beginning. Yeah. I laughed at those parts.
But what about the parts where, I mean, you're just seeing Keanu Reeves mow down hundreds of motherfuckers, like literally just like the most efficient shots to the head possible. Like, does it, at some point you're just like, oh my God, this is insane. And like, it kind of brings you out of it a little bit and you laugh. Like,
it's like that. It's not like when Greg does stand up, I'm going to laugh. Kind of like because he said something that was ironic or humorous or whatever the fuck. It's not like that kind of laugh. It's more like a holy fuck, what am I watching?
Yeah,
like, Jesus, this is insane. It's over the top. It's like the excess is so big that you're like, this doesn't fit within the codes of normal life and I have to laugh.
There's even like the part, I mean, there are like gags in the action. There's a part in this movie, it happens again in the second one, but there's a part where like he shoots a guy in the stomach and then has to reload, and then the guy's like squirming and like dying.
That's
and
awesome.
And Keanu Times takes the time to reload and then shoots him in the head and moves on. You know, like exactly. Greg is laughing. Like it's funny.
Yeah. Well, what about the bit when he gets thrown off the balcony and he doesn't die or break his spine or anything? He just kind of like gets up, and you're kind of like, all right, dude.
Enough is enough.
But for some reason, it doesn't take me out of it. For some reason it works, and I think this goes to, again, and I know we keep saying it, and it's really interesting. We didn't coordinate this before we started recording, but this idea of building a world is exactly what I was thinking. Like, when a film is successful, you just buy into it. No matter how over the top it is, maybe if you took it out of that context, somehow the context fits together so well that there's a harmony that even those like extreme musical notes, to use like a musical metaphor, they seem to fit within the overall melody of what's going on. And so, yeah, he can be thrown off a fucking balcony and he gets up and you're kind of like, okay, that's cool. He's just a badass. He's the boogeyman killer.
Baba Yaga. Yeah, but so taking this idea of it being funny and almost having elements of a dark comedy to it, once again, I think that his killing style is so cold and efficient. And even like when he kills Yosef, he doesn't even let him finish a fucking sentence. It's just walk up, shoot him in the head, walk away. Yep. And then plus it being Keanu Reeves. And I wanted to know, do you guys think, what would this movie be like if it wasn't Keanu Reeves? Like if it was a guy who looks more like Jean-Claude Van Damme in his prime, a guy who looks like a grizzled, swole badass. I think it would be missing kind of a subtle level of irony that makes this extra awesome, right? Like, is it just that this movie... I do think that there is a kind of ironic distance at play here, because it's not only that John Wick is a badass, but that Keanu Reeves is playing John Wick, who is a badass. Am I just...
No. I think you got something. I mean, I don't think this movie would be the same if there wasn't a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You know, like, to see... You have to see Keanu play, like, this kind of surfery, Point Break type of character to appreciate his character in John Wick. You have to see him kind of being soft and tender and goofy, and see his metamorphosis in The Matrix to understand this character. And I feel like that's how they played it up. And with the title of John Wick, it's almost like Keanu Reeves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, because we are projecting the meme of Keanu Reeves like sitting on a bench alone in New York into this character, right? Like, we're projecting that into it. Like, I mean, you guys are from LA. I'm sure you've heard, or you're in LA. I'm sure you've heard stories like about Keanu in his personal life. I used to work with a guy that used to tell me stories. His wife is a writer on CSI, and so they used to go to parties, and he would be like, "Oh, I've met Keanu," and he would tell me these stories about him, and I was like, "This dude just sounds like a cool fucking dude," which all just beefs out the myth, kind of like Bill Murray, right?
Yes,
like, you hear these stories about Bill Murray crashing bachelor parties and going behind a bar in a nightclub and people like ordering anything, and he's like just giving them shots of tequila no matter what they order. And you're like, that just adds to the myth of Bill Murray. So now whenever I watch a movie, you know, Zombieland, for example, and he has a cameo, you're like, oh, there's the guy that crashes bachelor parties and lives in fucking obscure Tennessee or North Carolina or South Carolina or wherever it is. I think it's Charleston. And stuff like that. So I think you get something similar with Keanu in this. And that's absolutely right, Greg. We're watching not just John Wick, we're watching Keanu Reeves.
Totally.
Think about it. Have you guys seen Taken?
Yes.
So, you know, there's the famous speech when Liam Neeson is talking into the phone, and he says, "I have a bunch of skills that I have accumulated over a very long career, and I will come with you." Like, once again, that is all the more badass because it's fucking Schindler's List dude talking into the fucking phone like he's going to go ape shit, you know? It's
right.
And I think that something is working on that same level with Keanu Reeves.
I never put that together. Schindler's List. I never.
Yeah. But yeah, also like the part, I think what, so do you guys remember the part where, and this happens again in the second one, and it's even funnier in the second one, but in the first one, it's during, he says, John, and this is like the parallel scene to the Taken scene. He's like, when Vigo, the head mob guy, says, "John is a man of focus, commitment, sheer will. I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil, a fucking pencil." Like, that's over the top badass. Like, there is, and then when we see Keanu Reeves, like, Keanu Reeves killing 3 dudes with a pencil, that means something different than, you know, someone who looks like Jean-Claude Van Damme or Arnold Schwarzenegger killing 3 dudes with a pencil. There's something different there.
Well, so there's something as over the top and mythological as this film is. There's also something like really like material about this film, and it's hard for me to describe it, but I'm thinking like the action sequences, they're not slick and clean and perfect like they were in The Matrix, right? Like, we just watched The Matrix, and they're all really fluid, and they're like over stylized, and there's a beauty to them. It's a dance. Whereas this is like, if The Matrix is ballet, this is like contemporary dance, right?
Yes.
It's a little bit messier. It's a little grittier. He like belabors a little bit. He's not like perfectly smooth in his movements, and I like that as someone who's studied martial arts since I was a kid. And I think there are certain films that I like the dirtiness of their fight scenes. And like, there's a film that probably nobody saw, but it's called Haywire that stars Gina Carano by Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, that was she did like MMA fighting in it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And her fight scenes in that film are so much cooler than the majority of like, and I like the Jason Bourne films too, but they're so much cooler than so much of like Jason Bourne choreography, or you know, even a film like Jet Li's films or Jackie Chan's films, which are much more dances. You know, they're physical expressions, and these, like John Wick and Haywire, and even a film like Ong Bak, I feel like, are much more, they're just more visceral and material in their fight scenes. And I think that kind of fits into this whole thing, too. You know, it's much more
I just want to make
settled and
sure
grounded.
you're not throwing shade at my boy Jackie Chan, are you?
No, I love me some Jackie Chan. It's just that Jackie Chan is a fan of Buster Keaton.
He's Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. But I think that's like, I mean, he is auteur on the highest level.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
but it's just different. It's ballet as opposed to this is more contemporary. Yeah. So I'm not shitting on those things. It's just different.
No, I totally agree. I think there is a cold efficiency to the brutality, and man, and also that juxtaposition we were talking about earlier, the brutality of the action scenes with the classiness of the Continental. I think it adds to the comedy in a sense.
Yeah.
So the other part I was talking about that I think also adds to this idea of it being a comedy is when the head mob guy calls John Leguizamo and he says, you hit my son. He's like, yes, sir, I did. He's like, can I ask why? And he said, well, yes, because he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. And then the guy just goes, oh.
Yeah,
dog.
And then that happens again in the second one where there's just like well, it's John Wick who's coming for us. Oh. And then the conversation just ends. Like there is a self-awareness here that I think is really special and makes it just all the more fun to watch.
Just builds him up without building him up. You know, you don't have to. He just walks around with a king card on his forehead, and everybody just treats him like a king. You know,
right?
I like the part also about how, I guess, what kind of makes him more soft too is the girl trying to get at him. The whole movie, the girl at the
Perkins.
Yeah. How she's just trying, like, you know, she's just in love with him, and he's just like, I can't even think about you right now.
She's in love with him? No, she wants to kill him.
I mean, she wants to kill him, but I think she has a thing for him too, though. You know, you don't feel that? You didn't see that?
I felt like she was definitely a seductress character, but that character, another really cool thing, for some reason I found it very gratifying just the way that she dies in the end when like the people of the Continental, they kill her because she broke the rules.
Yeah.
And once again, like just awesome world building. We see how the world works without them having to tell us that if you break the rules you'll be killed. We just see it happen. It's pretty awesome.
You didn't think she was into him though? Nobody? You just thought that was just her game?
I did.
There
was definitely some flirtation in that.
But to me, I saw it more as like what we were talking about earlier, in that there's a history.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe they had a fling
back in the day.
Another thing was like with the bartender. He when she's like, "Oh, Jonathan." I also like how everyone calls him Jonathan.
Yeah.
You know, because they know him so well. It's, you know, the movie's called John Wick, but all of these mobsters, they know him as Jonathan because they've just been with him for so long. So I wanted to end this conversation about the comedy, just asking, do you, Austin, especially with this Bo Burnham script, this video that's coming out at the end of the month that Austin also worked on, we talk about how we kind of have to have a kind of critical distance in order to be authentic in a way. And I'm wondering, like, can there be a hero that is just badass? Like, can we, or do we need this distance to really appreciate how badass a character is? Like, could this have been completely straight-faced and we would still believe that John Wick is such an awesome character, or such a badass more than awesome character?
Do you mean in light of the fact that his dog was killed, or just in general?
I think just in general.
Well, what about like the Bourne films? Is he just a badass?
Not on the same level that John Wick is. I think that's kind of my point. Like, is Bourne a badass? Yes. Is he a meme, though? Is he like a kind of a cultural icon for badassery like John Wick is? No. And I think a lot of it has to do with that slight sense of comedy in there.
No, I mean, well, I don't want to. I think the reason Bourne doesn't equal John Wick is like Bourne was trained by the government, you know what I mean? And Wick is like a mob dude, you know what I mean? It's a difference.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. What do you think, Jared? I mean,
I'm trying to think of other examples of
me too.
Somebody who's super. I mean, I guess like the Bill Murray thing you brought up is perfect. Right. But I'm trying to think of someone who's like in the context of action movies or being like a violent badass.
What about like Sly? Would he like the 90s Sly, like
Rambo?
with the cliffhanger era.
No, see, I think that was
Rambo,
more
cliffhanger.
authentic. But have you seen the newest Rambo movie? I think it was just called John Rambo or just Rambo.
No.
I didn't see it.
You know, have you seen the first RoboCop?
Yeah.
That was a good
Yes,
example of
yes.
like there being dark comedy just in the over-the-top brutality of the violence, and they play with that in the new Rambo movie more so than they had in previous ones, and it does kind of take you out of it because we don't just see Rambo go on a killing spree. I mean, we see heads explode, you know, him like you know, Tarantino style almost. And
Right. Well, what about like martial arts films where you get someone like Jean-Claude Van Damme, or even like internationally a film like Ong Bak, or various other types of films where it's like either a revenge martial arts film or like The Raid. You know?
Yeah, I don't think
Stuff like that.
I don't think that there's any comedy in The Raid, but I think maybe another good example would be John Cena. I mean, he's a meme.
Okay.
But he's also a wrestler. He's fucking swole. He's a badass.
It's those shorts. Those shorts just make him look funny.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, I tend to think that we're afraid of authenticity, and we're afraid of being too connected. And so maybe the reason that you have to have that humor and that irony is because it gets too real, so to speak, right? Like it gets too much. And anytime you're too violent, too badass, too whatever, there has to be a break where you kind of detach for a second. So maybe that's where the humor comes in, because we're uncomfortable with the like excessiveness of violence, or we're uncomfortable with something. And so even though the writers weren't writing like this purely authentic thing, even in the execution of the script, they had to distance themselves by throwing in these sort of over the top elements, or that in the direction had to throw in these things, because it's just too much to just be fully immersed in quote unquote badassery. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just bullshitting.
I think that's kind of what I was going for, and I don't know if that's necessarily something that applies to everything, but it did strike me when watching this movie that like it's not only cool what Keanu Reeves is doing, but that he is doing it.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, it is interesting. I mean, it'd be really interesting to kind of delve into this more, this idea that it's like meme. Like, in what way does the meme then go back into the script? So, like you were talking about Schindler's List in relation to Taken. I just watched the movie The Grey the other day, and I was thinking about Taken in the context of The Grey. You know, I'm watching Liam Neeson, but I'm not just thinking of Liam Neeson as the character in The Grey. I'm also thinking of him as the character from Taken, you know? So it's weird how we kind of, I don't know, amalgamate all of these various different things. Like, fuck, man, you watch American Made, the new Tom Cruise film. How can you not see him as, you know, the guy from Mission Impossible, or fucking from Top Gun, or Days of Thunder, or whatever, right? Like, all of those things are compressed.
And the studios have to think about this when they're doing this. You know, I'm sure they think about it.
Yeah, I think that these days with just the internet and memes in general, I think that perhaps it's going to be harder for actors to break out of these roles. Like, I think another good example is when I saw Black Panther and Daniel Kaluuya's in it. Like, I just thinking about Get Out the whole time.
Yeah.
Like the idea of him dressed up in African garb, I was like, nope, not buying it, man. That is the dude, that is Chris Washington from Get Out. You know,
it's hard. That's why character actors, like someone like a Michael Shannon, I think. It's so much more impressive, because when I watch Michael Shannon, for me personally, I tend to feel like there's a freshness with everything he does, right?
Really?
And I don't conflate. Yeah, personally.
But I think he's always playing like the slightly deranged guy, right?
It's Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon plays Zod in Man of Steel. Did you see the new Fahrenheit 451 with Michael B. Jordan?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
He plays Beatty. Who else? What else is he in? What else is he in, Austin?
Well, yeah, putting me on the spot, I can't fucking remember anything he's in. I'm thinking Take Shelter was the film. You said Take Shelter. I don't know, man. He's in a lot of shit.
I'm sorry.
He's a dude. He's a dude.
He's in Groundhog Day. Do you remember the guy that gets the WrestleMania tickets?
I did not know that. That's crazy.
He's like super young. Yeah, he gets the WrestleMania tickets from Bill Murray and Andy McDowell, and he's like, WrestleMania! That's like one of his first early...
I remember that part. I remember. Okay, we'll look up this guy.
But no, I mean, you get actors like Meryl Streep. Everyone is like, oh my God, she can morph into anything. And I feel like there are certain actors that are able to transcend the memification of them, you know, and I can watch a Meryl Streep film and I can see her in the momentary role that she's in without the intertextual kind of relations. Whereas some actors I can't. Keanu Reeves, I can't.
Yeah.
I view him as Bill. Or Ted, I'm sorry.
Right, but I think that he or somebody or his agent has turned that to his advantage. You know,
Sure.
it's part of his spiel, and it's awesome because this movie fucking rocks.
I fucking agree.
Yeah, Michael Shannon's
yeah.
awesome.
All right, so I believe Austin has some questions picked out from the mailbag.
Yes, sir. Okay. First one is we'll go back a little further. We'll go with it's a Deadpool question. So from Todd. Todd writes, the conversation at about 25 minutes, 30 seconds about the subversion of tropes is spot on. The new aesthetic is the subversion of tropes. So the most subversive action right now is to embrace the tropes. The postmodernist take is to see what still rings true after we've made everything false. What transcends the cynicism of postmodern thinking is the question.
Well, wait, but isn't
so what
the postmodern thinking is not cynical? It's the postmodern thinking that's cynical, right?
Okay, maybe, yeah. So what would transcend postmodern thinking?
So that would be, I think that what I was talking about in the Deadpool episode, if Deadpool were to kind of call out his own shtick about how, yeah, we constantly break the fourth wall and disillusion you and undercut any seriousness. I think that if he criticized himself in that way, that would be almost idealistic in a way. It would point to idealism because at least he's pointing out that, hey, we can be better, or these things can be better. So I do think that postmodernism is a form of idealism.
Trolls trolling themselves, right?
Right, because if a troll is trolling themselves, then they are at least indicating that they know what they're doing is not good.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. And then real quick, his other question was also, why no discussion of the team assembly and disassembly of the X-Force? That was the most hilarious and subversive part of the movie, in my honest opinion.
I can definitely see that.
There was so much to talk about. We just didn't get to it.
Yeah, I like that part where they all die real fast. I guess I just... In my head, I was like, as soon as the first one died, I'm like, okay, they're going to go all out. Yeah. So I wasn't really as caught off guard. Having said that, I also saw the movie at like 8:30 a.m. with like an empty theater. So, it wasn't the most communal laughing experience. What about you, Greg? Did you like that part?
I love that part, but I just thought it was hilarious that the black girl that doesn't have any power.
Other than luck.
Other than luck, which is the shittiest thing ever. It's funny that after we talked about it on the podcast, I had like a long conversation with another guy that loved Deadpool. And he was like, they didn't go racial on that part. And I was like, yeah, they wanted to. But then the studio's like, nah, we can't do that. I mean, just think about how fucking Deadpool punches everybody. And they just left this circle of a hole there. They didn't go there at all. I was just like, yeah, they had to get talked to about it probably.
See, you're more positive than I am. I think that probably no one in the writers' room even dared go there. You know?
Come on.
I think everyone in Hollywood is too scared to do that shit, man. Like, they all know what's at stake.
Well, at least behind the scenes, somebody was talking. Can we go? Hey, man, let's go to Chris's house, have some beers, and let's just rail on this part that we wanted to talk shit about. Because it's just me me watching the movie, and I'm just like, hold on, is this girl with no power? And they're not gonna say shit about this, and then they're just gonna let. Okay, all right. I mean, as a black dude, I'm watching this. As a very cynical black dude, I'm watching this. And this is I think this is worse. This is worse than racism because you're so scared to go against it. Oh, but we can talk about this.
No, we talked about that
what I mean?
For our Get Out podcast. You know, in fact, did you ever listen to that podcast? This is a whole separate conversation, but somebody was like, because it was me, Ryan, and Austin, and people were like, oh, 3 white guys talking about Get Out, that ain't cool. And I was like, okay, but if I called up Greg or some other black guy and was like, hey man, we need a black guy to protect ourselves from criticism.
Exactly.
That's fucking racist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay.
See, I kind of totally not subtly getting back to a different topic here. No, I didn't love the X-Force thing. I kind of thought it was again, too try hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, okay, I think it just lasted too long. It was like each person died in their own unique way, and I was sitting there kind of like, just in terms of like time, I was like, Jesus, this death of each individual person is taking like 7 minutes of time, and I'm kind of like, I get it. Like, I get it. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. It just didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a fucking sour-faced hater, but I just didn't love it. And I think it's because at that point of the movie, I had already kind of checked out a little bit in terms of like my excitement, you know? And that sometimes happens.
I think the writing got corny around that part. You know, that's the part where he was like, I'm entering from the back. You know, it got corny around that.
I mean, you know, Deadpool over the last couple of years, YouTube has been like the Deadpool fan club. Everyone just loves it. And the excitement is, I just think, pretty low. Like just Deadpool 2 has not spurned any lasting conversation, and it's certainly not because Solo has retaken the conversation. No. The movie's doing great at the box office, but you know, it's not the cultural conversation starter or fanboy igniter that the first one was.
Yeah, it's hard to be the troll forever.
Yeah,
you know.
All right, you got another one, Austin?
Yeah, so, well, I guess this one we kind of talked about it. It's about Domino in Deadpool. But it is from Jeffrey. Thanks for everything you do. I was listening to your Deadpool 2 podcast. Your thoughts on Domino, and thought that there was something important. And I thought that there was something important to point out. When I was watching what she did, the quote-unquote luck that action movie protagonists all have. When I watch James Bond, they all have such in the movie. Or a car lands in such a way that they can use it as a ramp to continue chasing the bad guy. It seemed like they were poking fun because Domino never mentioned that she has a proficiency, that she's lucky, etc. So it goes on. I think, based on her being a meta character for action movie characters as such. Cheers. Yeah.
I like that thought. I don't really. I mean, that thought never entered my mind when I was watching the movie, and I think that actually would have been interesting if they leaned into that a little bit more. But I mean, I think his point is interesting, and I think that the movie would have benefited from that idea. But I just didn't really see it there.
Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. I mean, when Austin was reading the question, I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. You know, people do. You know, Daniel, he was, card lands here, he jumps on that. If a door comes off, he turns it into like a skateboard, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, she just said luck.
Right. Because how do you make fun of that other than just doing it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like that's hard to really lampoon, because all you can really do is it doesn't get any more ridiculous than it already is. Like, I mean, have you guys seen, what is it? Like The Expendables and some of the Jason Statham movies, like it gets so over the top, or like Crank, like you can't make fun of it because it's already so ridiculous.
Right. Right. Especially Crank, right?
Right.
Yeah. Want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay, cool. So this is about The Matrix. So, hi, Wisecrack crew, long-time listener, first-time caller. My name is Vonimir, hailing from a small town in western Herzegovina. God, I'm such an idiot. I know. Yeah,
I'm glad you're saying it.
Anyway, Jesus. But upon listening to the last episode of Show Me the Meaning, a thought struck me. Our memories are constantly shuffled and reshuffled throughout our lives. So it could be possible that some of them, maybe even the most important ones, the ones that form the foundation of our person, are a fabrication of our subconscious or other mechanisms in the brain. In a way, we all live in the Matrix, if that is the case. Now, if Morpheus comes to you and tells you that a memory you hold most dear and has played the biggest role in forming you the way that you are today is false, and he offers you 2 pills, one that will show you what really happened and one to forget that you had that conversation with him, which one would you take?
Well, I guess my question would be, once the truth is revealed to you, I mean, eventually then that just becomes a memory too, and don't we just find ourselves in the same problem?
Unless there was a way to, I think the question is if somehow you could take a pill and then completely awaken yourself from that tendency. to where you would never be involved in this fabricating process, but that you would just truly understand memories as they really were. And then you would truly sort of self-destruct or self-deconstruct all the things that you hold most precious and dear to yourself. This also fits with the Inside Out podcast too.
Right, yeah. I think I would take the blue pill, because that would rob all the positive associations I have with my memories. They would just be, the way that I probably felt about them when it was happening, which was probably pretty middle of the road, whereas the nostalgia, like I'm not, the nostalgia makes it seem candy coated, and I need those repository of candy coated memories.
But have you ever had those experiences where like you're chemically enhanced and you're in a fucking club or you're in a casino at 5 a.m. and you're on a beach in fucking paradise or something, and you look around and you're like, this is unreal. Like, it does not get better than this. And then nostalgically, I look back on it and I'm like, man, that was amazing. But in the moment, like the flow of chemicals were so crazy that I don't know, man, maybe I would like to relive that as it was, quote unquote, if it were possible.
So does that mean you could like revisit a time that you orgasmed and just feel the exact same intensity
maybe,
of
right?
the orgasm? Well, then fuck, yeah, give me the red pill, man.
Okay,
it's like,
then.
dude, chill, I'm remembering. Leave me alone.
You got a bathroom?
Yeah, I'm about to go remember in there for a bit. Yeah. I know, I hear what you're saying, but, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, for example, I have, like, these ideas of, like, the best meal of my life, I'm sure that there's a level of nostalgia, and if I don't want to ever taste that food again, because it can never stand, it will probably never stand up to the way that I think it tasted like.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, and I would even say that actually from from a more properly substantial philosophical point of view, that even in the moment, the intense experience that you're feeling is also conditioned by previous memories.
Of course.
So, I mean, I tend to think that the imagination is what conditions our consciousness anyway. This is what a lot of my research has been about imaginative consciousness as being the sort of framework that conditions all present experience. And so I'm not sure that you could ever have a quote unquote purely objective or like real non-imaginative or non-fabricated experience. I think it's all filtered through language and memory and self-reflection, which is all socially constructed, and all of these weird mental complexes that all impinge on a given moment. But if we could break out of that mold somehow and live in like a non-linguistic or non-reflective or non-imaginative state, I mean, it sounds pretty fucking crazy. I mean, isn't that what we at least project onto animals? Like, isn't that what we think? Like, the way that an animal just enjoys the same food that they've had 1,000 times, or the way that an animal gets so excited to see you coming home from work, whereas, I don't know, when your chick comes home from work or your dude comes home from work, are you as excited as that fucking dog is? No, man, because dogs are better because they don't have all that linguistic baggage.
I think dogs have that baggage. I just think they're hungry.
And that is why you don't fuck with a man's dog. And on that, we're going to end the podcast. So thank you guys for joining me. Greg and Austin, where can we find you guys on the internet?
You can find me at Greg the Grouch on Twitter or Greg Comedy on Instagram.
And Austin?
You can hit me up on Twitter, Austin_Hayden, Hayden.
Cool. Hit me up at Wisecrack or at Father of Woody on Instagram. And just want to let you guys know, if you have a second to give us a review on iTunes, it would mean the world to us. Really, really, really helps us out, and it would be very meaningful to Greg, Austin, and I. So thank you for those of you who are leaving us a review. And that's about it for today. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Next week, by the way, we are doing The Matrix Reloaded.
Oh, awesome. All right.
Yeah.
See you guys.
So Rebecca's coming back. Cool. All right. See you guys. Thank you so much. Peace.
Signing off from Los Angeles, Hollywood, California.